name is Morten, and in this exercise I will show you how you can override the default text calculation service inside Ucommerce. In Ucommerce, the pricing and taxation of products is set on each catalog. We have the default price group, and then we have additional allowed price groups that we can swap to within this catalog if we choose to do that. Price groups are basically just a currency and a VAT rate. In this example, where we're going to override the tax calculation, we want to override how tax is actually calculated per product. In this case here, where we can set a currency and a VAT rate, it might be a little bit too simplified for more complex scenarios. Say that we want to do taxation based on billing address or shipping address, or that we want to override tax rates for individual products. Maybe they are completely tax exempt, or the VAT rate will vary based on some other bizarre rule. So in this case, having all products with the same VAT rate might be a little bit too simplified. So that's what we're going to change. We're going to keep the default price group as euros, but then we're going to use the definition system of product to set what the new VAT rate should be. We could either do that via a input field where we can set the specific VAT rate, or in this case we just want to keep it a little bit simple and say that if one of the properties on the product is called tax exempt and the value is set to true, then the VAT rate will be 0. Otherwise we will just default to the default VAT rate on the price group that the catalog determines. So basically we're just going to ignore the fact that we have a specific price group in the context. We're just going to say that if the product we are passing in is tax exempt, then we're going to return 0. In this case I'm going to add a new field on my shirt. Let's call that tax free, and that should be a boolean. So let's go into one of our products and say that this is now tax-free. Of course, this is not going to do anything because on the front page the product is still with 25% VAT, but that's what we're going to change in just a few seconds. Of course, this is not going to change anything just now, because we can see that it still includes 32 euros in VAT, so that's based on the 15% VAT. So creating the field here on its own is not something that's going to solve the issue just yet. Instead, we're going to create a new implementation that will look for this field, and if we can find it, we will use that and say that the VAT rate is now just 0. So now we need to go into our Visual Studio solution. Inside the business logic project, we're gonna create a new implementation of the tax service. Let's call this tax-free product tax service. It needs to be a public class. And now I have two strategies in how I can extend this behavior here. What I could do is that I could say I want to create a complete new implementation of the iTax service interface. There's a couple of reasons why I would not choose to do this. The first thing is that I don't necessarily want to override all the methods on the interface. The second reason is that if I cannot find my tax-free field, then I need to calculate the tax on my own. So in this case, I'm actually better left with just deriving from the default implementation of tax service. So instead of implementing the entire interface from scratch, I can just override what's there already. So my behavior here is that I will override the method that takes in a product, and right now I have an implementation. I actually didn't do anything. So my pseudocode here will be that if product is tax-free. Return base.calculate tax. I take in the product. I will create a new price group, and I will pass on the existing unit price as well. On this price group here, I will set the currency to price group.currency, and I will set the VAT rate to 0. Now I'm actually taking advantage of the fact that I derive directly from the default implementation of the iTax service interface, because I will just I'm actually cheating a little bit here, because I just let the base implementation handle it by mimicking a new price group with the VAT rate of 0, and that will actually force it to use 0 as the VAT rate. So my pseudocode actually looks like this. I don't have to do anything else but this. Only I need to implement the method here, product is tax-free. I'm gonna pass in my product, which will be a private boolean. Product is tax-free. So now I need to look for the field on this product here. And if this is the case, I will return it with VAT rate 0, or otherwise we'll just ignore it and let the base class handle it. So that's the good thing about deriving from tax service. In Ucommerce, we always try to make sure that it's easy to extend what's there already. So we try to make sure that everything is overridable, not only by implementing the entire interface from scratch, but also by letting the default implementation have a few extension points where it makes sense. So if you just need to tweak a little bit, you don't have to reinvent everything from scratch. So in this case here, we can just derive from tax service. Alright, so now we have the product. Now we just need to find the field called tax-free and see if the value is true. And in this case, we need to check two levels, because we have variants and then we have product families. In this case, I added the field to the product family. In some cases that's okay, but in some cases we're actually adding variants to the basket. So if we check the field directly on the variant and it's placed on the product family, and nothing will ever happen. So we need to see if we have a product family attached, if the parent product is not null, and then check that level as well. So first thing first, I will grab my field from the product itself. So I could use my indexer here and say grab me the property. So let's try that. If my tax field is equals to null, that means that we did not have it on the product, and product.parent product not equals to null. Then we're going to assign the tax field again, but to product.parent product tax-free. If tax field is still null, that means that we have checked both levels. I will just return false. Otherwise, it means that we could find the tax-free field. And now we just need to take a look at what the value is. Now we can say return tax field dot value not equals to null, and tax field dot value equals to true. And that's it. Now we need to register the component inside our application. In order to do that, I need to go down to my configuration files. In this case, I'm using the apps folder under Ucommerce, so it will be automatically picked up. I have all my default configuration files here. Under the price folder, I will create a new one. Web configuration file. Let's call this tax service. So we need the components tag, and now we need to create a component. All component has an ID, they have a service, and they have a type. The easiest way to figure out what we need to put in here is taking a look at the existing components. So I will go into my website, find the Ucommerce folder, go to configuration, and in this case, if I don't know what config file it's placed under, I can just search for it, but it just happens to be that I know that it's under core, and I know that the ID is tax service. Otherwise, typically we're looking for the interface that we're implementing, because we're always injecting on interface level rather than concrete implementations. And effectively what I'm doing, even though that I'm deriving from the tax service implementation, I'm implementing a iTax service, which is also what we're constructor injecting. So that's the service that we need to register. So it's Ucommerce catalog iTax service under the assembly Ucommerce. And as it is with the container here, is that if we want to override the existing component, then we need to reuse the ID. So tax service is what I need to type in to my ID of my component here. So tax service. Under the service, I want ucommerce.catalog.itaxservice found under the Ucommerce assembly. And in the type, I will take my namespace and I will take the class name. And the assembly name can be found by right-clicking on the project and copying the my Ucommerce app integration, which is the wrong one, because that's actually not the assembly it's located in. It's located in the business logic. There we go. Typically the assembly name is the same as the default namespace in the project, but we cannot always be sure. That's why I take a look at the properties project here. That's it. And I know that my solution is set up to build over to the right place, so my configuration file will be pushed under the apps folder and be automatically picked up. So I just need to build my solution and refresh the front end. So let's try to go to the front end to see what it looks like. Here we have the front end from before. It says 251 on the black and white Wonderland shirt, which is where I set the tax-free field. If I refresh the front end, it will now say 219. And if I go take a look at the product, I can see that the price is actually 219 and it includes €0 in VAT. So my logic actually works here. Now I could go in and add it to other definitions as well, and it would just work, because it tries to look up a field, and if it's not there, I'm just gonna leave it as is. Now it is your turn to implement the tax service interface yourself. Spend 15 minutes on this. Pause the video and come back for a quick recap before we continue. Please remember to use the handouts so you can see the steps required to reproduce this exercise. Welcome back. Let's do a quick recap on what we did in this exercise. get the tax-free products here, first thing we did was that we went to the product definitions under settings. We created a new field called tax-free. Then we created a new class under the My Ucommerce App Business Logic namespace. Under the tax folder, we created tax-free product tax service. We derived directly from ucommerce.catalog.tax-service. In the implementation of calculate tax, we said that if product is tax-free, we return based on calculate tax with a VAT rate of 0. Otherwise, we let the default implementation calculate tax for us. The product is tax-free method implemented down here says that we consolidate the products fields first and try to grab a tax-free product field. If the field is null and the product is not a variant, then we try to grab the tax field from the parent product. If the tax field is still null, then we return false, because that means that we don't have the field on either a variant or a family level. If we have a tax field, we say that the tax field's value cannot be null, and if the value is set to true, then we return true, in which case we have defined that our product is now tax-free. That means that we return a price group with a VAT rate of 0. With this method here, we can now set all different kinds of product to be tax-free, but we still have to register the task as well. The way that it works is that we create a new component. In this case, we have created a new configuration file under the apps folder in the Ucommerce folder, which means that it will be automatically picked up by Ucommerce. The component itself needs to be a component that has tax service as the ID. The service needs to be the interface that we are injecting in the components that needs it. And the type is the tax-free product tax service that we created before. That's it. We have now effectively overridden tax calculations in Ucommerce for all products that has a field called tax-free and the value set to true. See you in the next exercise.